Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Johnversations Podcast number 42. This is a very happy holiday episode. We're going to be off for the next 2 weeks. You know, Christmas is here, New Year's, and then despite this crazy year that we've had, right, I know that there's still going to be people who are trying to spend what time they can with family, and it's just, you know, it's a crazy holiday time. So there's no guest this week. It's you know, just me. I was thinking, you know, we could just skip the week and you know, have Christmas and New Year and then come back. But, you know, even though this year has been so insane, there's still a lot that I'm very thankful for. And so I wanted to do just a quick little episode just to, you know, kind of talk about that. Talk about, despite the fact that this has been an insane, crazy, tumultuous kind of year, there's still things that we can be thankful for. There's still things that we can say, I'm glad that this happened, or, you know, I really enjoyed this experience. And, you know, especially around this time of year, I think it's really, really important that we focus on the positives in our lives, right? This is already such a hard time for a lot of people out there, you know, without COVID, you know, the holidays. And I don't know, hopefully somebody will hear this episode and maybe it'll help them remember, yeah, like, even though this has been nuts, there's some things to be grateful for. So it's going to be a short episode after this. Again, we will be off for the next 2 weeks, but we will be back the very first full week of January. We have a very cool guest coming up. So stay tuned for that. We'll be doing some updates on the Instagram page. I'm just really excited for you guys to hear that. But to kind of kick it off, you know, I think the first thing that I wanted to talk about as far as things that I'm thankful for is I'm really thankful for the ability to do this show. Not only am I thankful for the ability to do the show, but I'm very, very thankful for the people that tune in and listen to the show every week, and you know, have shared the show with their friends and have reached out and said, you know, they like this guest or that guest. It's been a very isolating year, and the show is actually, as of December 31st, it'll be a year since we've started. We've missed, you know, a couple weeks here or there just because life is crazy. But, you know, for the most part, we've been running now for about a year. And when I first started the show, I just thought it was going to be me, you know, talking to people I knew in this, you know, spare office that I kind of turned into this little makeshift home studio. And I thought that was going to be it, just something that was fun to do. And, you know, through COVID, I had to start doing things remotely, and that opened up the door for just, you know, so many people coming on the show that I never would have thought. So, you know, just again, it's been very, very isolating. So the fact that this show has given me the opportunity to connect with people, to hear interesting stories, to hear about interesting journeys, and kind of step out of, you know, the isolation once a week, or, you know, twice a week, just depending on how the show is recorded, has really been a blessing. So I couldn't be happier to have started doing the show this year. And to that note, I couldn't be more thankful again for the people who listen. You know, I've had a lot of people reach out and say, like, hey, you know, I listened to this episode. I got a lot of feedback from, shout out to Dr. TJ Webb, who runs tjwebbmd.com. He's been on the show, and, you know, we talked a lot about medical misinformation and especially, you know, in the world that we live in right now, how prevalent it is. And I got a lot of feedback from people saying, like, hey, it was really cool to hear somebody who's on the front line, and someone who's fighting, you know, conspiracy theories and things like that. I got a lot of the same kind of feedback when we had Morgan Higginbotham on, who was a nurse and living it every single day. And, you know, it's also been cool to kind of keep track of the guests that we've had on the show. You know, when we first started, we had a therapist, Miss Nikki Talley, come on, and you know, as 2020 has progressed, she's gotten engaged, and like, you know, her career has grown. So it's just cool to see friends of the show and people who've been on and people who listen to the show and to see how it's touched them, and then to watch the friends of the show kind of grow in their personal lives and things like that. So, yeah, I couldn't be more thankful. Again, on that note, super thankful for Mat Halliday, who does our post-production editing. He's been on the show, been a friend of mine for many years, and when the show first started, it was kind of overwhelming because I was doing everything and learning as I went and trying to figure out how to make the show sound as good as possible. And when he came in, it really felt like I had a partner and a partnership in what we were doing. And he's worked tirelessly to really help, and it's very cool to be able to work with someone who is invested in what you're doing as you are. So big shout out to Matt, big shout out to everyone who listens to the show, everyone who's, bought a t-shirt, just kind of supported in any way they could. I just want you to know that it means the world to me. That being said, I think we also have to take a moment to talk about being thankful for the family, right? The friends that we have right now. This whole world is running, everyone is in a close circle. It's, excuse me, I've got, these 6 people that I can see and that I can rely on, or I've got, this small group, my mom, and I don't want to go see grandma because, I don't want to end up doing something that would hurt her or something like that. So I'm in the situation where, we have some close friends that we run in the same circles because like contact with each other is just kind of unavoidable in our lives. So it's been good to have them, especially again in such an isolating time. It makes you really thankful for the strong relationships that you do have, and I've talked about it. I talked about it on the show with Theo Hollingsworth, but kind of talking about like there's people out there that, quarantine hit and COVID hit. And then you're stuck with somebody that like you're really not. It makes you realize that like, whoa, this isn't the relationship for me. And so I'm just very thankful that that's not a trial or a tribulation that I had to go through. I have an amazing wife. I have amazing friends. I have amazing family. And I mean, thank God we live in the age that we live in now. Can you imagine this being the Spanish flu, right? And we're living through the Spanish flu and we don't have iPhones and FaceTime and we don't have the house party app and we don't have, we can't get on Xbox and play Call of Duty with your friends across the country. Like, I think we're so lucky, even though, again, COVID and quarantine and the pandemic, it's been so crazy. I think it's very important to kind of keep an eye on the fact that and be thankful for the fact that we still have so many ways that we're able to communicate. We have so many ways that we're able to, you can pick up your phone, and my whole family lives in Michigan, but I can pick up my phone and I can talk to my mom face to face, even though I haven't had the opportunity to go home in over a year. It's been hard, and I'm sure there's other people out there that are just like me. I've had a nephew be born that I haven't been able to meet yet. I have a sister who's expecting her next child, and I haven't been able to be there and see her and kind of go, observe that journey. So it's been, I don't know, it's been interesting, but it makes you really appreciate the fact that, again, we've got so many ways to stay connected. So I'm really thankful for that. And, another thing that I've been really thankful for, especially when we talk about staying connected and we talk about our families and our friends, and I mentioned Dr. TJ Webb and Morgan Higginbotham have been on the show, but I'm just so thankful for our frontline workers, right? I'm so thankful for our nurses and our doctors and our volunteers, people that are facing COVID every single day. You know what I mean? And working their hardest to keep patients alive, and working their hardest to stay sane. Like, I can't imagine being a doctor or a nurse right now and going, especially with the way that the hospitals are filled, and not only that, but with just like so much conspiracy theory about, hospitals getting money, and it's depending on some people that you talk to, it sounds like, they're almost like players in this diabolical game, when really they're just people that are going to work and they're trying to help people. They're people that are going to work that are they signed up to be like, yeah, you know what, you're sick with something super contagious, but I'm here to help you, or like, hey, maybe I'm not normally, a COVID doctor, but I'm going to volunteer my time and work with these patients because I understand this pandemic is insane. Right. So it's, oh God, it's so inspirational. It's so inspirational and it's so heartwarming. And it really, kind of, I don't know, like, New York was banging pots and pans. Cities all across the country are banging pots and pans for their first responders and ambulance drivers and medics and all these people who are right in the front of it. And it's just, I don't know. I think before COVID, like, everybody knew being a nurse or a doctor or being a paramedic or an EMT or, these were all jobs that we knew were selfless jobs. But I think this really put into perspective, like, just how selfless you have to be. And just to think about like how tired these people must be, but they still go in, they still go to work. They mask up, they get in there and they help people. So I am super thankful, super, super grateful. I have all the love and respect in the world for our first responders, our doctors, our nurses, EMTs, paramedics, anybody who is on the front lines of this. Just know that you are appreciated. To that note, I'm super grateful for my Domino's driver. You know what I mean? I'm super grateful for the Uber Eats driver, the DoorDash driver, the folks that are working in Subway, that the cashiers at Kroger or, Publix or Meijer, wherever you live, the people that are working in your town gas station. These are people that, a lot of them don't have a choice. You know what I mean? Whether or not they're classified as essential workers, that job is essential to them. And they come in every day. And I mean, we've all seen the videos online of the minimum wage at Target, the minimum wage employee at Target, getting chewed out by someone who doesn't want to wear a mask. And they're just doing their job, right? They're coming in to wipe down a shopping cart, or they're coming in to make your sandwich or your food or meet you outside for curbside delivery, stuff like that. So, if you're a person who works in that industry, you know what I mean? If this has always been essential to you and now now it's just classified, just know that you're appreciated, right? People need to eat. I know for me, it's a terrible habit, but for me, like, eating is a comfort thing. I think that's like that for a lot of people, with quarantine, people have gained weight and stuff like that. And I think it's because, a lot of people eat when they're stressed out. A lot of people eat when they don't know how to deal with their emotions. I'm one of those people. I'll go to McDonald's at like 10:30 at night and I'll eat and I'll feel shame and I'll throw it in the outside trash can. And I wake up in the morning and I feel so guilty. I tell my wife, I'm like, hey, by the way, I went to McDonald's last night. So, I didn't want you to think I was like sneaking food. But it's crazy. I had to stop using Uber Eats because I got an alert, like an email saying, thank you for being the number one user in your area. And I was like, okay, you guys don't stop using Uber Eats or DoorDash. Definitely use them. Because you're supporting people, but I stopped before the pandemic. So, I don't know. It's just crazy. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think that, all this is going on, but these aren't the people who get to work from home. These aren't the people that get to transition. People are still ordering pizzas. People are still going to Home Depot because they need to get, wood for a project because they're stuck at home, or Lowe's, or, hell, the Dairy Queen. You know what I mean? People are still eating ice cream. So just know, again, the same as our paramedics, the same as our firefighters, our doctors, our nurses, if you're in a job where you come in, you deal with the public every single day because you're an essential worker, because that job is essential to you, just know, again, that you're valued, you're appreciated, you're loved. And you're keeping the world moving right now. So, the next time you go in to get food, or the next time you go to the grocery store and there's somebody bagging your groceries, just tell them, say, hey, like, thank you for being here. I know this must suck right now, but thank you for being and just know that you're appreciated. And I think that would go a really, really long way. I also want to talk about, the COVID vaccine is out. It's going to be a while before, your everyday person gets it. Right now we're looking at, doctors and nurses and frontline employees. And I do think it's a little crazy that somebody like, Mitch McConnell is getting it, or, Mike Pence, or like, I don't know how that's a whole, even Biden. And I'm glad that Biden won, but like, me personally, I feel like there's probably some other people that should get that shot first, but that's a whole nother subject. But I am super thankful for the doctors, the scientists, the people who, this is the fastest a vaccine has ever come out. And I know that, some people are out there talking about they're not going to take it because of side effects or perceived side effects, or they don't know what's in it. I do know that they've done massive tests, and it seems, from everything that I've read, it seems like the side effects are pretty minimal. But, if enough people take it, even if the ones, that don't, hopefully it will slow this down. Hopefully, we may start being able to get back to something of like a normal existence before this, and that's another thing. Like, I'm thankful that my kid is so young. Like, I can't imagine having like an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old right now who's like, you go from like seeing your friends every day to like now you're in this lockdown, and it's like you can't see anybody. You're not supposed to see anybody outside your family and stuff like that. So, I'm thankful that my daughter's so young that for her, she doesn't really notice much of what's happening, or it's not like there's a big dynamic shift for her compared to like her normal life. But it's I wanted to make sure that I thanked these doctors and scientists and the truck drivers who are driving the vaccines across the country, and I believe the military is stepping in to help administer shots, right? And kind of get people what they need. And, this is all, especially with, again, all the conspiracy out there, you know what I mean? It's what they've done. If everything works with this vaccine, the way that that it looks like it's going to work, like they've done some amazing work in an amazing amount of time, So, I don't know, just thankful for that and all the work that they do. And I know I'm using the word thankful a lot this episode, but hopefully when you're listening to this, it's triggering and thinking things of maybe things that you're thankful for in your own personal life. Gotta shout out the teachers, man. Gotta shout out these teachers who, even before COVID, they were buying their own school supplies. They were, staying after school to work with kids who were behind and not making any extra money for it. Teachers work really hard and don't get paid enough and don't have what they need. And then you add remote learning on top of that, you know what I mean? And now literally these teachers are bringing it in their homes. And I've heard of teachers who are, if a kid's not showing up on Zoom, like that teacher's putting a mask on and driving to their house and being like, hey, like your kid's got to come to school. Like, we're trying as best we can. And these teachers who are still trying to find ways to engage with these kids with all of these challenges, right? It's a really hard time. I know, not just for the teachers, but for the parents. Like everybody's life is upside down. And, it doesn't seem like it's going to be changing anytime soon. So, for a lot of kids to have this person who's so invested in them and their education and working to make sure that they're getting this kid what they need in any way that they can. I've seen stories online of, teachers dropping off books at kids' houses, coloring books, reading materials, flashcards, like, spending money out of their own pocket to bring these things to students so that they can teach them better online. So if you're an educator, if you're someone who is, dealing with a remote learning right now, and you're getting out of bed and going to your kitchen table and you're running your lesson plans all from home, just again, know that you're appreciated. Know that we value the work that you do. And again, we wouldn't, I don't know. I've talked about it before, but my mom is a parapro. She works with kids with autism and things like that. I know, it's been a real struggle for her this year. So, if you're a parapro or a teacher or hell, even being the secretary, in the principal's office or the school nurse, like it's crazy right now. And so just know that like our hearts, our love, our thoughts are with you. And again, incredibly grateful for the work that you do every single day. And shout out to the parents, shout out to the parents who are getting their kids up and they're working from home and they're making sure that their kids are signed into, Zoom or however they're doing their learning. And then there are, 35 different programs that they have to go into, like, I don't think, I think that normally, school, I mean, yeah, we go to work and stuff like that, but I think that like normally for parents, like school is, hey, let's, they go to school, I go to work, we're not dealing with each other for that 8 hours a day, whatever. And, it's, even though you miss your kids, I think that that's still like a good break. So when you come home from work, like you've worked all day, you've missed them, you want to see them. And I can tell you, just having the one kid, sometimes I love her to death, but sometimes just like as a parent, you're like, man, I need a break. And so, for these parents who are getting up every morning and they are putting aside any frustration or they're putting aside their own self-care needs or they're putting aside, like, hey man, I just want to stay in bed. I really don't want to fucking do this today. Like, shout out to you, love to you, respect to you for getting up and doing what you need to do for your kids. Like people, you always hear people, being a parent is the hardest job there is, or being a mom is the hardest job there is. And I think people got a lot of, I used the word guff earlier today and my wife was laughing really hard, but I think people got a lot of guff for that previously. And I think now it's like, oh yeah, like it is a super hard job, especially in today's environment. So thank you for working and thank you for doing what you can to make sure that, you're doing the best for your kids every day. Cause it's not easy, and some days you just want to stay in bed, or some days you want to wake up and be like, nah, I'm taking a day off from being a parent today, and you can't do it. So thank you for putting in the work and working with your kids to make it work in any way that you can. I think one of the last things I want to talk about is the fact that I'm grateful that the election is over, or at least the majority of the elections. I'm grateful that Biden won personally. And I know not everybody listening to the show is going to agree with me, and that's cool. Like, we can have different views and opinions on things, and we can have a conversation about them. But, I've said this before. I don't think Trump is responsible for racism. I don't think that everybody who voted for Trump is a racist. But what I do believe is that because of him and his beliefs and the way that he portrays himself, and the image that he puts out there, people who do have racist views, people who do have racist tendencies, it's made it very easy for them to operate in the mainstream and feel like they don't have to hide I feel like they don't have to hide those thoughts or those feelings or those views. I think it's very obvious. I mean, especially when you look at this most recent DC Stop the Steal rally where, Proud Boys, Vanilla ISIS is, burning Black Lives Matter flags outside of, or banners outside of historic Black churches. Like it's a pretty strong signal that you're sending. You know what I mean? And I will say one of the things that I've really liked about Biden, and one of the reasons I was able to get behind him, is, we've been so divisive as a country, and he came out and has been saying since the beginning, look, I don't want to just be a president for Democrats. I want to be a president for the entire country. And Biden's a pretty center dude. We've talked about it before on the show. Like he's had some votes in his past, or some views in the past that, I have not necessarily been on board with, but he's also done a lot in his past to do good. The Violence Against Women Act. I mean, we've talked about all this before, but he's had some hits and he's had his misses. And my hope is that, with those misses, he's evolved his opinions over time, and, being a centrist, that hopefully he will capture more of America. And I think, when you look at how the elections turned out, the Senate and the House, there wasn't really much change. It's still neck and neck there. We're waiting for the runoff votes and the runoff election in Georgia. But, the people who normally vote for the Republican senators, the Republican House of Representatives, they did the same thing, but it seems like they want a president who's more in the center. And so I'm really hoping that with Biden, if that message of unity is strong and the actions match the message, that maybe some of these, always Trumpers will get on board, and maybe some of these Bernie folks who are like, Biden's too center for me. You know what I mean? Like maybe they'll get on board, and we can work towards bringing the country together, So I think I'm just thankful that the whole thing is over. And that, with the news cycle being, and it doesn't matter, like if you listen to Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, it's still dominated by Trump, just with a different view. It's, the extreme on the left and the right, and it's just an echo chamber. So I think I'm just happy that there's going to be a break from that, at least, for a little bit. And then I'm sure it's going to go right back to where, Fox News, it's everything that Biden does is going to be terrible. And everything that, you listen to CNN and everything's going to be great. And it's just, I don't know. I'm just thankful that there's a change happening, because this last 4 years, it just feels like it's just been so, like, okay, what happened now? What did he tweet? Like, oh my God, okay, now this happened, and then there's this scandal and this. Like, I think I'm just, thankful for a little bit of a change. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited that people voted. I'm thankful that people came out and voted, whether you voted for Trump or whether you voted for Biden, or you're one of the 60,000 people that voted for Yeezy. Like, thank you for going out and voting. Thank you for going out and exercising your right as an American, and casting your vote. We had record turnout. So I think that's awesome, and I think that's another thing to be grateful for, is like, even though politics right now is incredibly polarizing, it seems like it's getting people to be more involved. And that's what we need. We need people who are more involved. We need people who are not afraid to, like, raise their voices, to call their senators, to call their representatives, and kind of be hands-on with it. And, that's a good thing, I think, that's happened through all of this, is that, it has caused people to kind of dig their fingers in and be like, I'm a part of this now. So I'm really thankful for that. And that's about it for me. We've been talking the last little bit about the things that I'm thankful for, but I really want to hear from you guys. Again, the general consensus is that as a year, 2020 has been pretty shitty, but it seems like each of us can find some things that we're thankful for. There's been some things that have kind of cut through the darkness and reminded us that, like, even though we're going through an insane time right now, that life is good still, and that people are good still. So I want to hear from you. So if you go to www.anchor.fm/Johnversations/messages, you can actually leave us a voice message and you can let us know what you're thankful for. You can do it anonymously, put your name to it if you want. I want to get a bunch of these messages so I can play them on the show when we come back in January. So I would love to hear it, man. I would love to hear if it's, a new promotion, or like, having to work from home. If it was working from home, it got you into, a different swing and you feel, happy about your work-life balance, or, maybe you got engaged, or, maybe you fell in love, or, whatever it is. If you're listening, I want to hear from you. And what we're going to do is, if you call in, you leave that message, we're going to pick somebody for a prize. I'm thinking we got some new t-shirt designs and stuff coming. So I think if you call in, you submit a message, we're going to pick one or two people. We'll play the messages on the show, but then we're going to pick one or two people to get a t-shirt or some other cool gift, something like that. We'll have more to come on that. But please, leave us a message. Let us know how you feel. There's going to be a link in the show notes below. You can just click that link. That'll take you right to the page there as well. But guys, that's it. This is episode 42. That's 1 year of the Johnversations podcast. That's 1 year of being thankful. That's 1 year of being grateful. That's 1 year of conversations that I never thought in a million years that I would have. And that's 1 year of me being so thankful for the people who listen to the show every week and the people who've reached out. So I want to wish you guys all a very happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Just enjoy it, right? Celebrate. Tell the people that you love them, the people that you can hug, that you can put your arms around. Do it. And we'll see you guys in 2021. Again, we're back first week of January. Very big guest. Make sure you're following us on Instagram. That's instagram.com/Johnversations. We're going to be putting some info out before the episode drops. I want to make sure that people have a chance to kind of interact going forward, things like that. So might put out there if you guys have any questions that you want to ask this guest before we record. But yeah, we will see you in 2021, a brand new year. And again, thank you guys. We love you. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next year.